Welcome back to the Heroverse. And guys, this will be episode 3 of Moon Knight called The Friendly Type. This will be my spoiler review. And guys, I loved this episode. This episode was super, super awesome. It seems like this show is really found its footing and we're really moving along. And I'm just loving what we got in this episode. We're finally in Egypt in this episode, where we let off in the last week's episode. And it was really cool to see, we're getting that Indiana Jones side of things. We're getting that, that mummy feel of, the exploration and stuff, because right now, Arthur Harrow is trying to, has the scarab. Yeah, he has the scarab, and he is tracking Ahmet's tomb, and it seems like that he's found Ahmet's tomb, and he's digging at his dig site, and right now Mark is trying to play catch up, trying to figure out where Arthur Harrow is so they can find the dig site and so he can stop Arthur Harrow from, releasing Ahmet. So I'm really loving right now that he's really trying to figure out where Arthur Harrow is so we can stop him. And right now, where he is in Egypt trying to find out where Arthur Harrow is, pretty much Layla's trying to play catch up and finding out, okay, I can't believe, he went to Egypt. I can't believe, I have to go back there and I have to, understand really what's going on. I'm just not really understanding what's happening right now. And she's talking to the person that's making a fake passport, and it's not her first rodeo. It seems like she's done this before, and that was very interesting to me to see the connections of how she knows this person that makes fake passports. And it seems like, she knows this person through her father, and I'm really interested a lot to learn more about Layla's father, because it seems like something tragic really happened there of him dying, and I'm wondering how he died. And my theory is, could it be, when, Steven got picked up by 2 of Arthur Harrow's minions back in episode 2, and they explained that, a couple of people died execution style at the hands of, I think they said, of Mark. So is there a way maybe, Mark's dad, or Layla's father died at the hands of Mark and has keep that hidden from Layla, maybe before, he met Layla? So I'm really interested to see, is that a case on why we get that moment later in the episode where we actually get to meet Gaspar Ulliel's character. His name is Anton. Yeah, it was Anton, and we actually get to meet Anton. And again, it says that he's going to be playing Midnight Man. So I'm really excited to see, where that character will go, because we saw the introduction to him and Layla knew who he was when we do end up, when Layla ends up meeting with Mark. And right now, Mark is still trying to figure out where, again, Arthur Harrow is. So that was really cool when, he's interrogating those. I was supposed to interrogate a guy, but there was 3 people of Arthur Harrow's minions that killed the guy that could lead Mark to where the dig site is. And that was very interesting to me because he didn't really want to hurt them. And it was kind of funny because they were kind of dance fighting on the rooftop. And that was the funniest scene of this episode. They were kind of dance fighting at first. And he's like, what is this? A dance, or are we actually going to fight here? And it was funny because the one dude licked his knife. And while he was licking his knife, he slid it on the ground and then licked his knife. And it was funny because, Mark just went ding, ding, ding. I was laughing. It was such a comedic moment. And I love the way the fight style is from Mark. How it looked very much I just loved it was very flowy, and the way it was very different from our normal fight styles that we've gotten in Marvel before. And I really enjoyed the way that was. But then, he's blacking out, and, he's having trouble with Steven interfering, saying, he's Mark, stop. I don't want you hurting any of them. And that's not what Steven's trying to do. Or that's not what Mark is trying to do. He's just trying to get answers, but he's not trying to hurt them. Because we see that through the fighting. It's he's maneuvering them. He's it's almost he's doing I don't know, some sort of flowy, I'm not sure the type of fighting, or maybe I'm not sure really quite sure, but it seemed very flowy and very it was just defensive. He wasn't really trying to hurt anybody. He just wanted to get the information to find out where Arthur Harrow's dig site is, and they know. But again, Steven just doesn't want Mark hurting him and want any more blood on his hands, because as we all know, Steven thinks that this is my body. I don't want any more blood on my hands. So that was very cool to see the interaction between Steven and Mark, and how any reflection surface we see in here, it always interferes where Mark's about to do something. There's always a reflection of a mirror or some type of thing there, and Steven's telling him, stop, don't hurt them. And I love the moment where he blacks out and Steven's taking over, don't hurt them, and he takes over. And then Mark ends up ends up being in a car, in a taxi, getting ready to get driven to the airport. He's and Mark's whoa, where am I? Why am I in this vehicle? I was just interrogating people, and then the dude's like, oh, you told me to take you to the airport. And that was Steven telling the dude taking over, saying, take me to the airport. I'm not letting this go on any further. And that's when the dudes that Mark was interrogating end up being outside the taxi. And he's like, oh, well, he's like, wait a second. He gets out of the car. He's like, wait a second, I need to talk to you. And he's like, you just let us go. That's what the dude, like, that's what the group of kids were saying. Because they're like teenagers. And they're like, wait, you let us go or whatever. And he's like, no, I didn't. It wasn't me. And that was very interesting to see that whole run chase sequence, that through like the markets and stuff. I loved it. I was like, this is really cool. It reminds me of like very Indiana Jones. I was like, this is just amazing. I'm loving this. And, we get to the moment where, like, something else, I guess, he gets, like, one of them in the corner. And again, it's Steven saying, okay, like, let him go, you know what I mean? Don't hurt them. And it was like, he's like, leave me alone, Steven. And then, like, he blacks out again. And he ends up having two of them on the ground dead. And then one of them is, like pretty much, like, wounded so bad, he's, like, crawling to the edge or trying to get away. And he's like, well, Steven, what have you done? Because he thinks Steven is the one that took over him again, like he took over again Mark to put him in the taxi to take him back home. So that was very interesting how he thinks Steven's the one that hurt those people. He's like, no, it wasn't me that hurt those people, I swear. I wouldn't do that or whatever. You're the one that's been hurting people. And he's like, I didn't do this, Steven. Who did this? And he's like, I don't know who. So this confirms to us there is a third personality. And we kind of hinted towards that in last week's episode, but this episode confirms that it's Mark's not even the one that even wanted to hurt them. He, again, like I said, he was only doing movements to get their weapons out of their hands and just get information. So Mark has, like, I don't know if Mark has even been a killer. It seems like there's a personality that is the killing side of them, and it's the third personality. And in the comic books, there's three personalities, and I'm gonna be honest, I would not be surprised because the only personality we really haven't seen is Jake Lockley. And we've seen that Stephen Grant, from the comics, they've kind of modified him for the show because in the comics he's a rich billionaire. That's what Mark Spector uses Stephen Grant as kind of like the billionaire persona and ego. So I'm really interested to see if they could instantly change the way we see Jake Lockley from being that taxi driver to just a person who just kills people. I don't know. So that's just going to be interesting to me to see a side that literally is the killing side of things. And I don't know if we've seen these actions happen before, because I'm wondering now, was Mark the one that really took over in those blackout scenes? Was it Mark, or was it this other alter ego? I don't know, which could be named Jake Lockley. We don't know yet. And I'm wondering when we will see that other alter ego really take place, the more fighter, the more brutal killer of personality. I'm wondering if it will be Jake Lockley, they'll modify that character. I don't know, but I'm really interested to see even Mark was I would never do this. And the moment where he's Khonshu's take him, take him over the edge, and he'll tell you where Arthur Harrow's dig site is. And he grabs him by his tie and puts him over the edge. And even Mark's doesn't want to do it. He's like, I need to do this. I'm not going to drop him. I'm just going to hold him very tightly to get this information, hoping that the kid won't just go over. And he said, I don't want to do it because, he's just a kid. And, of course, Khonshu's you need to do this to find out where Arthur Harrow is. So that moment when he does that, and then he said, for Ahmet, and he cuts his tie off, and then he drops to the ground. That was a holy crap moment. It was oh my God, Mark really felt bad in that moment. Oh my God, this has gone really too far. This has gone so deep where it's people really believe in Harrow's plans about Ahmet. It's just kids are willing to sacrifice themselves for Ahmet and for Arthur Harrow. So that's just crazy to me. He feels this has just gone way too far, and also gone way too far that he doesn't know who's the one that's killing people. He knows it's not Steven, because Steven yelled at Mark for even, fighting those teenagers and all that stuff. And it seems Mark is a little bit more structured and more mindful that killing for him might be the last resort. And it seems like one of those fighters that just tries to get weapons out of people's hands and not wanting to kill people. But it looks like this other persona is willing to literally kill people. And I'm interested to see that other ego get let out. So that's very interesting to me. And it seems like this other alter ego is very, very, careful on and not act letting Mark know that he's been let out, or not letting Steven know that he is there. So that's very interesting to me, because as we all know, Mark, like Steven thought when in episode 1, when he took out Arthur Harrow's, goons and stuff, that it was Mark the one that was doing it. And that's why he's been so hesitant, like, of letting Mark out, saying you hurt people and all that stuff. And Mark's like, it's not what it looks like. And he said that in the last episode. So I'm thinking he's like, it's not what it looks like because it's not me. And that's what's very interesting to me, again, to see this other personality do the damage that the personality's been doing since like since episode 1. So I'm just interested to see how that's all going to play out. But after that moment when that all went down, what Khonshu does to get some more information of like where Arthur Harrow's like dig site might be, he makes an eclipse to call the gods so they can have an intervention, which was very awesome. This before like Layla, ends up finding Mark. So that moment where like the plan doesn't work, the last person that really can tell us where Arthur Harrow's dig site is dies. And Mark's like, okay, I don't know what else to do. Khonshu, do you have any other ideas? And he's like, I have one, but if we call the gods or whatever, there could be, they could put me in stone if they don't like what I've been doing. And that was a big hint to like that could possibly happen, where if he gets put in stone, that will cut Khonshu's connection of using Mark as an avatar. So that was really cool to find out a little bit more information about that, how like gods can be stopped by using people as their avatars if they get put into stone. So I thought that was very cool. So when, Khonshu makes the eclipse, that was badass. I was like, this is really cool. I'm loving what's going on. And then when that happened, he's like, there's going to be little hatches opening up so we can get into a room so we can talk. And the avatars will make all these doors pop up all around Egypt so we can walk in and we can talk about, we do this or whatever when something big happens. We like all get into one place. And since he's kind of like banished and stuff and people don't really respect Khonshu, that was a very interesting moment where like he's like, oh, like Mark is like, are you gonna come? He's like, I'll be there. And I was like, that was really cool. He's like, I'll be there. I was like, oh, this is very interesting that we actually get to meet the gods and meet their avatars. So we all get into one room. And we get into like one of the pyramids, and that was really cool to get into the pyramids and see everything inside. And I was like, okay, this is really, really cool right now. I'm getting the mummy vibes. I'm like, I'm loving this. So when we get in there, we see everybody. We see all the gods in their avatars, and they're pretty much having a trial for and about to judge Arthur Harrow because he's committing crimes and stuff, trying to resurrect Ahmet and all that, and they don't believe Khonshu. They're like, you've been dangerous. You've almost shown us to the world. You've almost outed us and all that. So like this is really bad what you're doing, and that's why we banished you and stuff. That's why you're not really a part of us anymore. Is because of all the stuff you've almost blown our covers and stuff and all that. And we don't like to, and we're not, us as gods, we don't like to meddle with the humans. And that right away that popped into my head about the Eternals and how the Eternals don't like to interfere with humans and let human just evolution play out. I was like, this is so like Eternals of God related stuff, as like the gods don't even want to meddle with the humans. They just want to let it play out. They don't even consider them being able to play gods and interfere. Like same as the Eternals like to let human evolution play out and let humans they'll control themselves and let them have free will and stuff like that. It's kind of like what we're being shown from the gods of like, I love that, is that they don't even think they should be playing gods. But they think that, Khonshu, him, like almost letting them, like almost getting, like, letting everybody know that that's what gods are doing and stuff like that. It's like their covers are almost being blown because of Khonshu and his reckless actions that they were saying. So it was very interesting that the gods think that he's been reckless and that he's been careless and he's been like almost blowing their covers and all that. So that was very interesting to see the gods take on how the way they think Khonshu was acting. And right away when they call upon Arthur Harrow for his, for his crimes and stuff, they don't like, Arthur Harrow has a way of manipulating the gods, saying, look, Khonshu, you guys banished him for a reason. And, him, like the vessel that he he is in control of this Mark Spector and also Stephen Grant. He's a troubled person. He Khonshu chose somebody that is a troubled being that that is just not a stable vessel and that needs help, and he's preying on somebody that needs help, and he and that's not right. He is the enemy. I am not the enemy. I got, tormented too when he used me as a vessel, pretty much trying to make Khonshu out as the villain and flip the script that, like, I'm not the villain. Khonshu's the villain. He chose somebody that's not well. And he did that on purpose because he knew this person wasn't very well. And that's very dangerous for someone that's not well. He's using as an avatar that can be reckless just as much as he is. I was like, that's so clever on Arthur Harrow, how he plays the villain aspect. And like, I'm not a villain. I'm not trying to resurrect Ahmet. This is his craziness by somebody that, somebody that you banished for a reason, and somebody that, he's in using somebody that is very not well, that needs help. So it's like, I love the way Arthur Harrow is playing this villain, or even how like Ethan Hawke is playing this villain of Arthur Harrow. It's just pure genius. Ethan Hawke kills this role. So that moment was just awesome. And I love how like Khonshu, he just speaks through Mark for a second, and then it goes back to just Mark speaking. And I love when he's like, okay, like, let us talk to Mark. Do you need help, essentially? Like, is he taking over you too much? You know what I mean? Like, do you need help or whatever? And he's like, yes, I need help. In that moment, and I thought right away that was Steven, and that, not Mark, but I think it was Mark saying, like, I need help. Like, so much has happened. This is insane. I need help. So that was a very interesting moment. He's like, I do need help and all that stuff. But he's like, I'm not the one on trial here. Arthur Harrow has done bad things. So it was Mark saying that he did need help, but he's like, I'm not the one on trial here. Arthur Harrow is, and he's been doing bad things. I need you guys to believe me. But of course they're not going to, because of there's a word for it, because of the reputation that Khonshu holds with the gods. They don't trust Khonshu of all the actions that he's done, especially after Arthur Harrow is saying that he's chosen, somebody that an avatar that needs help. And, you know what I mean? That has, again, a split personality and doesn't know who he is. So it's like they're not going to trust even Mark. And that was very sad, except one god does trust Mark and gives him the information and, like, saying, if you can find this other person, then it will lead you to Ahmet's tomb, because even us as gods don't know where Ahmet's tomb is, because we didn't want anybody else to turn on anybody and to release Ahmet. So even the gods don't even know, but somebody that has kind of like a map that they left it with, like they left it with like I forget what the it was mummified, of course, but I forget what mummy they left it with. But that was very interesting, saying they left kind of like a map with this mummy that can really lead them to where Ahmet's tomb is. So that was really cool. It said that this one god trusts. I guess it kind of had, in a way, I think this god kind of had like a love interaction with Khonshu maybe in the past. Maybe we'll find out more about that, how Khonshu maybe, fell in love at one point, and I guess it was the goddess of music or whatever. It was the goddess of music. Which was very cool to see. It was like, he's like, once before, Khonshu used to love my music or whatever, and love to listen to my music and stuff. And I think there might have been like, he kind of had, a love until, I guess the gods, kind of, banished him from their kind of like inner circle. And it kind of like made Khonshu maybe, be like, okay, like, felt like he wasn't worthy or something. I'm just interested to find out more about that, because that was very interesting, how she was the only one to really trust Khonshu, and even Khonshu's avatars being like, I believe you, that Arthur Harrow is doing something bad. I'm going to send you to this person, this mummy that has the map to Ahmet, so you can stop Arthur Harrow. And then that's, of course, when we run into Layla, and Layla kind of has a way to get to, Gaspar Ulliel's character, which is Anton. That was very cool. How he's like, we get to the one big fight sequence that we've been seeing in the trailers and TV spots, where he's kind of like in this, like, it almost looks like a carnival setting, but it almost looks like, back, in the jousting days. It kind of like this jousting arena type thing. And I thought it was a carnival at first, but it's like this jousting, arena place in somebody's backyard, in Anton's backyard. And he gets trained by these professionals. And I was like, okay, this fight's about to happen. I wonder what makes it happen. So at this point, Mark needs to let out Steven, because Steven knows how to read this map. And Steven knows, again, a lot about, he used to be in the part of the work of the Egyptian exhibit and stuff. So he knows about reading these, symbols and stuff. So I was like, this is just a perfect time. I love how we're bouncing back and forth. And this is when you need that side of Steven that knows about, Egypt and stuff. So I was like, this is just so perfect to me. And I love, I was like, but he's like, I don't want to let him out. But of course, there's a reflection that he's talking to. And it's like, Steven's like, I'm not telling you this. I need you to let me take over the body and let me do this. And then, of course, like, Mark's like, oh, do you want me to go hurt people? Because I'll go do it. And he's like, okay. Steven's like, okay, I'll tell you. And says, okay, you see that wrap right there? Fold it over. And he's like, okay, I see. He's like, this, is it like this? I love how he's like talking to Steven. I was just, this is so pure genius. How we're seeing all this play out. I was like, I'm loving this. How he's like talking to Steven. They're kind of like, they're using each other's skills to make one formed human. I'm like, this is just amazing to me. So, Layla's like, but of course Mark's like, you need to distract, Anton and like his guards so I can do this. And they're like concerned. They're like, oh, why is he talking to himself? And then Layla's like, oh, he's talking to the gods and stuff like that, or he's praying or something. And I was like, that's so funny and such a good excuse to have him just start talking and looking up. I was like, this is just so good. And then that's when kind of like when he starts flipping over pieces, Anton's, guards like, just pulls him away and puts a gun on him. I love when Mark takes the gun, and I was like, this is so cool. And then of course they're made at this moment where like they know that Layla's been lying, and there's more here than what Layla's telling Anton. Because again, there seems like there's some backstory between Layla and Anton. I'm interested to see what that is, because we all know again he's going to be playing Midnight Man, so I'm just excited to see when that will happen. I think that will be like maybe the last episode where we see kind of like a hint to a season 2, and I feel like they kind of maybe wanted to do this to see if like if the fans love this series, we'll make a season 2. But of course, at the due to the passing of Gaspar Ulliel, if we do get Midnight Man, they're gonna have to probably do a recast, which is really upsetting because it was just a very unfortunate, of his passing, and it's very upsetting because I really love the way Gaspar Ulliel is playing this character of Anton, and he probably would have killed it as Midnight Man. But of course, we get the moment where they're made, and then he's like, "Oh, we have another guest here," and of course, again, Arthur Harrow walks in saying, "Oh, don't listen to him. Oh, you're a collector of all this, but don't you want to know that this is actually all real, and you can actually have true power?" And pretty much trying to get Anton to to listen to him so he could destroy the map so they can't find out where Ahmet's tomb is, so they can stop Arthur Harrow. So he's kind of like wanting to destroy any evidence that could lead Mark and Layla to the tomb to stop him, which was very interesting because he showed a little bit of his powers to show Anton, but to also destroy the map, it looked like. But of course, as we know, it wasn't destroyed because they were able to fix it to get there. But there was a lot of cool things that they fixed the map, but there was a lot more to that, which I'll talk about in a minute. But we get the moment where he's like, Conch is summoning the suit because Arthur Harrow's here, and Arthur Harrow's trying to get Layla to turn on, Mark about, he has more connections to what happened to your father and all that, and just trying to I feel like Arthur Harrow is telling the truth about Mark maybe did something to Layla's father. But of course, and that was a very interesting moment where he's trying to turn Layla on, trying to turn Layla against Mark, saying, he, is, if he thought that you knew what he did, that, he felt like he would, be right about himself, that he doesn't deserve love. And of course, Mark's like, you bastard, stop talking, or whatever, you know what I mean? Don't be saying stuff, meaning that it's true in a way. He knows it's true, Mark, what he's saying. But of course, he tries to play it off after the big fight sequence that we end up getting, where we get that moment in the trailer of his TV spot or something where he's standing like this on top, and they're like, where did he go? And then we see him, Mark dressed as Moon Knight up top, and we get the cool scene where he jumps down and makes the crescent moon cape, and we see the big fight sequence, and when he throws his cape, a whole bunch of moon crest, rings, knives come out, and that was very cool when he twirls his cape and all the moon crescent knives get thrown out and get thrown into people. I was like, this is so badass. And that was just a really cool scene in general. But there was a moment where, again, Anton was about to kill. At least it seemed like he, injured Layla. And I was really worried when the moment where they're running towards each other, Mark and, Anton, but Mark, again, is dressed as Moon Knight. I thought for sure he was going to try to kill Layla, but he grabs Layla and ends up throwing one of the crescent, knives at, Anton, and it looks like it, killed him, but I think it injured him, because, again, he's going to be playing a bigger role as Midnight Man at some point, or at least them leading into a season 2 where he would have played Midnight Man. So I'm interested to see, I think we will see him again in this, at some, maybe at, as an end end credit or like it's the last scene of the show of the last episode, kind of hinting that he will be the villain to a season 2. If the Marvel fans liked the show, which we do, we love this show. But I'm very interested to see where that will go, because I don't think he's dead, because, again, he's going to be playing Midnight Man. They wouldn't just kill him off like that. So I think that it was supposed to be like, he's dead or whatever, but then he'd be like, come up at the end saying, I'm going to get revenge and all that stuff. So I'm interested to see how that's all going to go. At some point, I think we will getting like either an end credit or the last episode, or at some point we'll see him again, kind of hinting like he wanting revenge, and we'll see him in a season 2. But of course, we're not going to, because, again, at the death of his passing, they're going to have to recast, which is very unfortunate. But yeah, that was just a really cool moment. And again, we get a little bit more interaction with Layla and Mark in the car, and they're talking and stuff, saying like, what was Arthur talking about you and my father or whatever? And he's like, oh, don't let him get to you. He's just trying to turn your back. Like, he wants you to turn against me, and he's trying to get in your head. Just don't let him do that. When we know Mark is lying, because even he knows. I think he regrets what he did to Layla's father. I feel like he regrets it. If he did kill him, or maybe he put him in a position where he ended up dying because of the actions of whatever actions that Mark chose. Either he killed him, or he did something that got him killed, and that makes Mark feel like makes him feel like, he really regrets his decisions, and he feels ashamed and stuff, and he feels like, in a way, what Arthur did say is right, like, if you were to find out, he would feel like how he feels about himself, that he's unworthy of love and all that stuff. So that's gonna be interesting when that does get out, which I feel like it will at some point, maybe in like the next episode, or maybe the two other episodes that we'll be getting before it's over. So I'm just interested to see how that's all going to play out. But we end up getting to go, we're in, right now we're just in out in, Egypt right now, we're out in the sands and stuff, and they're pretty much trying to look for, Ahmet's tomb, and they're trying to put together the map, but they don't know how. And of course, Layla's like, this is a perfect time for you to let out Steven, because he knows about all this stuff. And of course, Mark's like, oh great, he rips off the mirror of the door of the Jeep, walks away with all the pieces of the map, and he says, okay, Steven, you're up. And it was so cool to see him that transition, and then to see just Steven get on the ground and start, taping and stuff, and to just see Layla walk over and see Steven at work, and knowing about putting maps together, and knowing about about maps and stuff, about all this was just very awesome to me, because we really see the way Layla looks at Steven, the way Steven looks at Layla. It just, oh my god, it just got me in my feels. I'm like, oh god, they would make such a perfect couple. It's like this side, this side of Mark, which is Steven, is so perfect for Layla. And I'm just like, you could just see, like, Steven, when he looks at Layla, he's in love. He's like, because Layla knows about, archaeology and all that stuff, and about, Egypt as much as Mark does, and as much as Steven does. And that was just really, and they have so much in common. And they know about, poets and stuff and all that. So it's like they just fit so well. And we're seeing a story from an ego's perspective, an alter ego's perspective, of like he's falling in love with and I love that he's like falling in love, and it's just, I love that we're seeing it. And in a way, we're seeing how like Mark, and on Mark's side of things, he's like, we made a mistake getting together and stuff like that and all that, and we see that and how there's trouble there in their marriage, and she's upset about that. But then we get the side of Mark, which is Mark, which is Steven, and like she sees a different side of Mark in a way. It's just so beautiful in a way what we're seeing, and to see just the way they look at each other, and him fixing the map, which ends up becoming a star in the constellations of stars and stuff, saying that's why they did this, is like the star that will lead us. The stars will lead us to the tomb of Ahmet. And I love that. But he's like, it's the stars change over the years, so it won't match up. You know what I mean? Like from back then when this map was made, it wouldn't match up to now, because the constellations change and the stars change. And I love the moment where like Khonshu says, I remember that night. And he's like, Steven's like, oh, like, is there any way, like, Khonshu, what do you mean? He's like, Khonshu's like, I can go back and change the stars to then, but there will be, it will have a great consequence if I do this. And I love the moment where he's like, let out Mark, or let out Mark so I can use my abilities. And we get the moment where like, the moment where he does let out Mark and stuff, but he's dressed up in Steven, because Steven's the one that really took over. He's dressed in like Steven's outfit, and they're turning back time, it seems like. At least I think, I think it's like only Khonshu is able to use the powers when he's going through Mark, but Mark was somehow in Steven's suit. Seems like in a way, in the Mr. Knight suit, seems like in the way, which again I think is Steven's suit, because again Steven kind of made it clear that it's kind of like that's his suit when he takes over for Mark. Mark has the more Moon Knight traditional suit, and then Steven has the more Mr. Knight persona suit. So I think that was a sign of like when Mark took over in that moment to help Khonshu like change the constellations, to change of the stars to match up with the map. I think that was more of a way of the writers trying to tell us that him and Steven are becoming more one and accepting one another. And I feel like that was a cool way of showing that, and have Mark in Steven's costume of the Mr. Knight suit and turning back the constellations of the stars that match the map. And it did do a great price, because they end up putting Khonshu in stone, and that cuts the bond between Khonshu and Mark, and even Khonshu and Steven. So now that Khonshu is now in stone, I think my theory is that since Khonshu took over Mark as his avatar, I think that Mark's soul also got trapped with Khonshu and got trapped in stone. So I think from going forward now, we're just going to be seeing Steven, because I think Mark's soul, since again Khonshu used Mark as his avatar, I think again Mark's soul is trapped with Khonshu in that stone of Khonshu. So that is very sad to me, because I think we're going to be seeing Steven a lot more, which is going to be interesting, because I think Steven's going to miss the side of Mark. So that's going to be cool to him to be like, I miss, having Mark with me, because I feel like, he, in a way didn't deserve what happened to him. He doesn't deserve, him being trapped in stone or whatever. And, like, I feel like he'll miss that side, and he'll have more to accept it, because, he's had that side of Mark all this time, and knowing Mark was there, and he's kind of, like, learned to, in a way, understand Mark. And I feel like he'll learn about Mark a little bit more now that Mark has gone through Layla. And I think that's when we'll get the backstory. Like, Layla will explain the backstory of what happened to Mark and stuff like that, and we'll actually see those episodes play out. At least that's what I think, maybe. If they do show us that, which I hope they do, they show us when, Mark gets the powers of Khonshu and stuff. I hope we see all that play out. But mind you, we only have 3 more episodes left, but I'm not expecting it. It would be cool, and I don't think it would affect the story, but I think it would be cool if we do get to see it at some point. But yeah, and then we end up the episode where, Khonshu gets, and I also, my theory again, is Mark get trapped up in the stone, and, Steven drops to the ground, and pretty much lifeless, and Layla's like, Mark, Steven, like, wake up or whatever, and I'm wondering what's going to happen. My sister thinks that, this, like, by next week's episode, we'll see Steven in the mental hospital somehow. I don't think it'll be from Layla, but who knows? Maybe, like, he'll get taken from Layla and he'll be put in the mental hospital, because we still have yet to see that scene where he gets trapped in the padded room, so I don't know what's going to happen. I feel like maybe if that side of him is gone, and it's just Steven now, and that side of him is gone, where it's no longer, Mark is no longer there and Khonshu's no longer there, maybe he will think he's going insane now. Maybe he will. Maybe he'll forget about everything else that he's been through, and he'll think he's just been insane having these reoccurring memories. I don't know. We'll see that in next week's episode if we do see that scene that my sister hinted towards. Because maybe since Khonshu and now Mark are gone, because I think, again, my theory is that Mark is gone too, maybe Steven will forget about everything but have reoccurring things like, oh my god, and feeling like he is going crazy. I don't know. Maybe he'll just put himself in a mental hospital. Who knows? But I'm very interested to see how that's all going to play out in next week's episode. But the way we actually really end this episode is Arthur Harrow going back to the pyramid and talking to the gods. And the god's like, we did it. We put him in stone. We stopped him, and he won't be able to do anything anymore. He won't be able to be, reckless and stuff. And we get the moment where, like, Arthur Harrow's like, I'm gonna, you tormented me, and I'm gonna, like, this is gonna be my way of, like, this will be my dedication to you on me bringing back Ahmet or whatever. So that was very interesting to me. That, I want to know a little bit more on, like, how he, like, Arthur said, like, he really enjoyed being Khonshu's vengeful, like being, like, Khonshu's vengeful, like, servant. But in a way, he's like, but that's my biggest, regret of me doing that, and I hate you for that. And he said, but I'm gonna dedicate me bringing back Ahmet to you and all that, which, really makes, again, Khonshu annoyed that he's willing to do that, because Khonshu does not want him doing that. So to have him be like, oh, I'm going to dedicate this to you, is like kind of like a ha-ha moment to Khonshu. Like, you can't do anything now. You can't get in my way. It's going to happen. And me dedicating this to you is going to be, you're going to know that, I did this for you in a way. I'm dedicating it to you, and that's going to really get to him. Like, oh, how dare you use me as how dare you use your actions and dedicating it to me, saying like you're doing it for me in a way. It's like the biggest evilest thing a villain can do. It's like, oh, I'm doing this for you or whatever. It's like the biggest, like, saying like, don't put this on me. So I just love when like villains do that. Like, he's like, oh, I'm dedicating this to you, even though that's not what Khonshu wants, and that's not what Khonshu like wants him saying, like he's doing all this for him. I just love that. So it's gonna be interesting to me to see how Khonshu gets let free again, so, Mark can come back, because, again, I think Mark's soul is also gone with Khonshu trapped. So it's going to be interesting to see how Steven does things on his own, and to see how also when Khonshu will get let free, I wonder who's going to let him free. Will it be the other god that trusts Mark and trusted Khonshu, like kind of like Khonshu's, love that he had? Will she be the one to let Khonshu free for the greater good? Who knows? But if she is the one that does it, her actions might have consequences as well. So who knows? I'm just excited, guys. I'm excited for episode 4. Again, I think this might be my favorite episode of Moon Knight so far. It seems like every episode gets better and better, and we've seen that so far. But I think this might be my favorite episode, just because we have that, we had the Mummy vibes, we had the Indiana Jones adventure vibes. Like we had those vibes. And I love it. I'm so glad. I'm just so glad that, we're really, embracing, the Egyptian culture, and just, embracing, the comics, but them, the Moon Knight comics, but also them being, being, changed a little bit. You know what I mean? They've been modified. I'm just loving it. I'm having a blast. And yeah, I just can't wait for episode 4. But guys, yet again, if you're new to the channel, subscribe to the channel, put on those notifications, like this video. I'd love to have you guys here, a part of the fam, a part of the channel. We're all about spreading love, positivity, and motivation. And guys, we're almost yet again to 500 subscribers. Right now, I think we're at we're almost there. I think we're at 488. So yeah, we're almost to 500 subscribers. So yet again, I would really, really appreciate it, guys, if you hit the notification bell so you guys don't miss any future videos. Hit the like button, because it helps with the YouTube algorithm, and then come join this fam here, because I would love to have you guys here, a part of the family. And yeah, guys, let me know down in the comments below what was your favorite Moon Knight episode so far, and also let me know what you guys liked about this episode, whether you guys expect is going to happen in episode 4, 5, and 6, because yet again, we only have 3 more episodes, which is like, I don't want it to end, but like, it's got to end at some point, so we can, see him and maybe, maybe this could lead into a movie, or maybe him making an appearance in the movie, or hell, us getting a season 2. And I'm excited to see the future, because the future is very bright for Moon Knight, and I'm excited to see where this character will go after the season's done with. I don't know, season 2, a movie, a cameo, who knows? I know Midnight Suns, whether it be a series or a movie, I don't know. All I know is that the future is very bright for Moon Knight, and I'm just excited knowing that when we do end this series, we'll be seeing him again, and I'll be super happy to see him again. But yeah, guys, again, that was a video. I hope everybody has a great day, a safe day, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.